Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thanks so much for watching the video today. I really do appreciate that. And again, I know I repeat myself every time, but a special thank you to those of you who have subscribed to the channel. You guys' support, your encouragement, the interaction, it just means so much to me. So I really do appreciate all of that. Thank you. If you're watching and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, today is the day. You need to go ahead and hit that button. I don't know what you're waiting on. So just hit the button. That way you can not miss anything and follow along with me. But in all honesty, I really do appreciate you all. Today, I am super honored to have a guest on. This is the first time he has been on with me, but want to welcome Isaiah from The Bitter Wolf. Isaiah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for having me.
I really do appreciate it. It's always fun to have guests, and I'm kind of familiar with what you do a little bit, so I was really excited that you were willing to come on. But take this time to promote your stuff and tell everybody else what you do.
Sure, thank you. Yes, so I am Isaiah Swanson. I have started calling myself the spokeshuman for The Bitter Wolf. The Bitter Wolf is a website and YouTube channel that I started a couple years ago, and we're focused on promoting the work of independent horror filmmakers and also spotlighting the work of content creators, fans, musicians, writers, anyone in the horror community through my project, The Horror Mosaic. And soon you'll be able to see Sean's Horror Corner himself on the Horror Mosaic. Hopefully in August, that episode will be coming out. I also do the Bitter interviews where I sit down one-on-one with myself and interview filmmakers about their movies. On the website, I am usually promoting the work of other writers. Sometimes I'll write from the Wolf's voice myself, but right now I'm primarily focused on promoting the work of other writers. So I'll have original fiction on there. I have movie commentary on there as well. So you could check that out. And sometimes I'll put out specials too. So I'll have panels where I invite guests on, like Our Life in Horror, who is a mutual guest, or a mutual friend of Sean and I. And we'll have panels about different things. We talked about bug movies. We talked about transportation horror movies. And upcoming soon, we're having a panel called Sick Shit, which is about the sickest horror movies you can imagine. So that will come up so soon. Cool. And yeah, that's it. I have another surprise in the works, which will bring the wolf himself to life in a very real way. But I won't tell you that until it's done.
Okay, well, very cool. Yeah, I've watched some of your stuff, some of your interviews with other people. I really like the channel, I love the way you do things. And you know, when you got to have me on, it was just fun. You know, I mean, I was a little nervous about it going into it because I'm like, wow, I'm being interviewed. Like, let's see how this goes. But yeah, it was just very relaxed and fun, and just like two guys chatting rather than really an interview. So I really thought it was a lot of fun, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
One more thing, Isaiah. So since it's the first time that you've been on my channel, I always ask people their first time on. So what was it that got you into horror? Was it a movie, a franchise? You know, something happened, but what got you into becoming such a horror fan?
It's really hard to know exactly like what was the moment when you became a horror fan versus the moment when you understood you were a horror fan. I think those are kind of different sometimes. But I think I've pinpointed. I mean, I could go all the way back to whenever I was 5 years old or 6 years old, one of those, and we were at a hotel room in Arizona on our way to visit family out by the Grand Canyon, and I remember turning on the TV and being horrified to discover the episode of Twilight Zone with Will Shatner whenever they pull back the curtain and you see the creature's face on the wing. So that was one of the first moments that really stuck with me. And there was another moment around the same time. I'm not sure where exactly it was, but it was with the movie Werewolf of London, 1935. Yes. And this movie, this was the first time you see a werewolf in a feature film. I didn't know that when I was 5. But all I knew when I was 5 is that it scared the shit out of me because again, I happened to see the scene where he saw the werewolf for the first time. He pokes his head out over the rocks like that, and you only see the top of it. But that was more than enough to push me away from werewolves. I almost said for my entire life, but that's certainly not true anymore. For a very long time. So I think it started with Werewolf of London and that episode of Twilight Zone, 20,000 feet whatever. It's Nightmare at 20,000 feet.
Okay, very cool. And now I'm curious as well. Yeah, I'm not sure. Where did the Bitter Wolf name come from? Like, why is that what it's called?
That's a good question. Someone asked me one time if you lick the wolf, does he taste bitter? I was like, well, I can't
Interesting.
answer that. But um, it came from this. Let's go deep into psychology here. I don't know exactly why it came to me. If it just came to me one day, but the wolf character itself goes way back, also to whenever I was in third grade, and my sister and I we were doing these comics together. And the comics focused on these little alien superheroes that would. It was a villain of the week type thing. So they
Okay.
just fight a different creature um, the next week or whatever. So um, I can't remember. We did like 300 of those comics, and I can't remember when this character first appeared. But we realized we needed some sort of something to change it up a bit. Some evil character that wasn't quite evil. It was more ambivalent. So we created
Okay.
this wolf character who, when all the villains were defeated, the hero was like, "Well, what can we do? Let's go pick on that guy over there." So they go into the wolf cave. They discover this wolf, and he's not evil. He's just irritated by their presence. He
Okay.
wants to be left totally alone. He doesn't want anything to do with these people. And so they just, when they get bored, they just go in there and harass him. So that was his character and how it started. And then for
Okay.
some reason, years later, when I was really into horror, and I was like, I want to like tweet about it, I don't know, but I don't want to be me tweeting about it because I already had a stupid Twitter account and I didn't want to do that.
Okay.
So I just started doing it from the wolf, and I drew a little character, and it was the same skill level as when I was in third grade, and I just started tweeting from that, and from
That's
there
pretty
it
cool.
evolved into what it became
Okay.
today. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, see, I had no idea that there was that much to it. I thought it was just something that like popped off the top of your head one day. So yeah, there's actually a story back there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the bitterness comes. Actually, I didn't know it at the time. I just picked it because it kind of described his attitude about everything. He's just like, leave me alone. But I didn't realize at the time that it was a deeply psychological thing, and that
Hmm.
I had been depressed for a long time and hadn't been doing anything creative. I had no creative outlet. I was just drinking nonstop. This isn't this is water, but
Hey, that's all right.
I was drinking constantly, and I was like, this has got, and it just made me bitter about the world,
Okay.
and I was just like angry and bitter all the time. So when all that was done, and I gave up drinking, and I started getting into the horror community and creating things again, I realized I could reclaim bitterness as something that was more positive in my life and use it as a creative outlet instead of something that held me back from creating things. So
Right.
there you go.
Okay. No, that's very cool. I actually like that. Now, I unfortunately haven't given up drinking yet. I'm drinking wine out of a plastic cup. That tells you how high class I am.
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So today, it's so funny. So I just kind of, when it comes to coming up with the movies that I'm going to do, um, and I first started this, I found a website. My brother actually told me about the website. It's just called random.org. And so you get on random.org and you can just make a list of as much shit as you want. Like it can be tons in there. And so I just
Okay.
started typing and I came up with between 4 and 500 movies. And I'm also OCD. So then I had to go back and put them in alphabetical order. But then
Yeah.
I copied and pasted into this random.org website, and then you just
Uh-huh.
hit the button and it puts them in a random order for you. And so
Okay.
typically what I do is I take the top 8 and then that's my next 8 episodes. And then when I get through that, then I go do it again. And that's the
Oh,
next
nice.
episodes. And so that's how I come up with it. Because if I just picked it myself, we would probably be talking about, Freddy, Jason, Michael, Ghostface, Chucky, every single episode.
On the back
And
of
exactly.
your
And I would run out
background.
of
Yeah.
shit to talk about. So doing it this way, I get to include all kinds of horror and not just the slasher stuff. But it was funny because when I had a few episodes there and I asked you which one you might want to come on for, I had no idea that you were a fan of this one that we were going to talk about today, but it was in my list there. So
Yeah.
today, Isaiah and I are going to be talking about The Pope's Exorcist, starring Russell
Yeah.
Crowe from 2023. I own this movie on Blu-ray. I don't know, I'm a huge collector as well. I don't know if it's out there on 4K anywhere. I haven't seen it. on 4K. So for now, I just have it on Blu-ray. Just watched it again a few days ago to get ready for this. But we'll jump in and I'll give a quick synopsis for the film here, real quick. So the movie is inspired by the actual files of Father Gabriel Amorth, who is the chief exorcist of the Vatican. Father Amorth investigates a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries old conspiracy that the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden. The film was released April 5th of 2023 internationally, and then April 14th of 2023 in the US. Directed by Julius Avery, screenplay by Michael Petroni and Evan, and I'm about to fuck this name up because I'm bad with names, but something like Spilatopolis. I don't know. Do you know
Close
this
enough.
name? Okay, that
I
works.
don't know what you're talking
All
about.
right, fair enough. Story by R. Dean McCreary, Chester Hastings, and Jeff Katz. It's based on An Exorcist Tells His Story and An Exorcist More Stories by Father Gabriel Amorth. Produced by Doug Belgrad, Michael Patrick Kazmark, and Jeff Katz. Cinematography done by Khalid Moesteb. Music by Jed Kurzel. Distributed by Sony Pictures. A runtime of 103 minutes. $18 million budget. $77 million at the box office. Rotten Tomato scores 50% from critics, 80% from the audience, and an IMDb score of 6.1 out of 10. Cast for this film, I just wrote down a few names here that we'll mention, and then we'll kind of get into talking about the cast and the characters. But of course, Russell Crowe as Father Gabriel Amorth, Daniel Zavato as Father Escabel, Alex Iso as Julia Vasquez, Franco Nero as the Pope, River Hawkins as Enzo, Peter Fahony as Henry, and Laurel Martin as Amy. Um, what are your thoughts on, first of all, the performances, the cast here, and how well the actors did? Anything really jump out to you? Anybody you thought was fantastic? Just your thoughts on the performances in general.
The performances are great. This is a tricky movie to talk about sometimes, as far as that goes, but because I think it's so over the top. But I think each actor knows exactly what kind of movie they're in, which is why part of why I think it works so well and why I think it's so rewatchable. But in terms of people who stand out to me, I'm a huge fan of Alex Esso. Um, she doesn't. I mean, she does have a major role in this movie. She doesn't get to stand out as much as she normally would when she's the lead role in the movie.
Right.
But I think she does a good job here. But the centerpiece is Russell Crowe, and Russell Crowe just gives it his all. He's having a total blast in this movie.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about more details about that, but those would be my two.
Okay. I agree. I think, like you said, I think everybody does a great job. I don't think anybody gives a bad performance. Um, Russell Crowe's, I mean, he's everybody knows who he is, but it is obvious that he's having fun with this character. And
Yeah,
it really stands out. I wonder what this movie would be like with somebody else, because I kind of have a hard time imagining somebody else being able to do this the way he did it. But yeah,
right.
again, I think everybody did a pretty good job. I was also really impressed with and I don't know if I'm even saying her name right, Laurel Martin, Amy. I thought she did a great
Yeah,
job as well. I
yeah.
was really impressed with her performance also. So yeah, I thought everybody did a good job. The performances were fine. As far as the characters, do you have a favorite character? Do you have characters you didn't like? I mean, what were your thoughts on the characters themselves? Not the actor's performance, but the characters.
Right. I do like what's her name? Julia, Alex Esso's character.
Hmm.
I like characters who are by themselves in the world, like single moms. I like single mom characters, or anyone who's trying to accomplish something really big and difficult, and balancing a lot of different responsibilities, and it's overwhelming for them in some way. I like characters who have to confront questions of faith, because that's one of my um, deep childhood things, I would say. So I'm really connected to her, to Julia. That's her name, right? Julia.
Yes.
And okay, I like Father Amorth's humor.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe I would hang out with him, but I also know a little about the real Father Amorth, so there's like a there's like a conflict there.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
in the movie, he's very lovable, very likable. So that version of him, I love him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I don't think there was really a character that I of these main ones here that we mentioned that I disliked. There are a couple of the other priests that give Father Amorth's character a hard time that are not very likable guys. But as far as these main ones that we mentioned here, everybody's fine. I don't know that I have a favorite. I do like Julia. I do like Amy, and Father Amorth. I was kind of. I'll be honest. I was a little back and forth on him.
Yeah.
Initially, and we'll talk about it kind of when we get into the plot somewhat. I mean, I like the fact that he's very confident. But he also came across in some ways as very arrogant. There's a
Right.
little bit of a difference, and I'm like, I can't decide if I like this character or not. Um, and then once we see him a little bit later on, not to get ahead of things, but he finally starts to get shaken a little bit by this demon, and we start to see more of a human side, um, other than this, super religious guy. I started
Right.
liking him more than when we got to see the deeper side of him there and see him struggling with things himself. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I enjoyed it all. Just a few things that I'll mention. There's not a lot of behind the scenes stuff for this film, but there were a couple of things I wanted to mention. The real Father Amorth, along with five other priests, founded the International Association of Exorcists. He claimed to have performed, in 2000, he claimed to have performed over 60,000 exorcisms. By
Shoo.
2013, yeah, I know. By 2013, he said that number was 160,000 exorcisms. He's one of
Yeah.
the most prominent and controversial figures in the history of the Catholic Church. He did have some odd beliefs. Father Worth believed that yoga and reading Harry Potter books was actually satanic.
Right.
Um, he also claimed, and I'm very curious about this, but he also claimed that young girls were kidnapped and used for sex parties at the Vatican, and then murdered, and their bodies were disposed of. Uh, he
Okay.
retired. Yeah, he retired in 2000. He died in 2016 at the age of 91. It's really about all I have as far as the behind the scenes stuff. But before we walk through the plot, based just on something that you mentioned a while ago, um, and you and I talked about this a little bit when I was on your show, but
Yeah.
religious horror. So you
Right.
mentioned that the faith thing kind of intrigued you a little bit because of your childhood. And I don't want to ask anything uncomfortable. So, but is there?
Right.
Can you kind of share why that's so intriguing, or is it too tough to
Yeah.
go back to?
No, 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 that's all right. Um,
Okay.
that's one of the reasons I loved your horror mosaic episode too, and that's why I'm excited to share it because I don't. We didn't get too deep into it, I don't think, but I was really interested in your connection to it as well in your past,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the reasons that we were able to connect so well. But
Yeah.
it's a very confusing situation when you're a child, and for me, I was raised in the Lutheran church by my family, and it's very kind of a laid. Their branch of it was kind of just a laid back sort of thing. Go to church for 40 minutes. You do the exact same ritual every time. You sing some pleasant songs. Like I
Right.
honestly have some I have some good memories of my church experience as a kid. I don't really have bad memories of it. And everyone at the church was really kind. However, on the opposite side, I was sent to school at the opposite of that. It was a
Okay.
deeply I wouldn't even call it religious. I would call it cultish institution in the South. It's a very famous institution in the South. I don't really feel like naming it because I don't want to give
Sure.
it attention. But it's just a cult. They print their own Bibles. They think their own thing, and it's all about punishment and obedience and fire and brimstone, as you can imagine. So
Okay.
that conflict as a kid was deeply confusing to me. And then um, as a kid, you're developing your own beliefs too. So it's
Sure.
where do my beliefs fit in between these two conflicting things that are being taught to me. So, um, I went down my own path with it and discovered what my own beliefs were and everything. But it's not an easy process. And whenever you're going through that, you're kind of going through it alone because
Right.
people like the parents who brought you there, they don't want to talk about that. And then on the other side of things, you're not going to talk to the people who are like, you're going to hell. Um,
Right.
about that. So you just internalize it. So I think that having horror movies, and especially religious horror movies, is a great outlet for that sort of anxiety, and for processing those feelings that you didn't fully get to process when you were a kid.
Sure. No, I get that. And I mean, I won't go into a huge story about it, so we can get into the movie. But
Yeah,
I think I've mentioned on my channel, and probably most people by now have started to hear. I was a preacher for almost 10 years, and
yeah,
I was raised in the way I was raised was confusing to me because it was almost like a roller coaster. We had months where we were in church. We were in church every time the door was open. We
yeah,
went to absolutely everything, and my dad was, always reading the Bible or reading religious books. We couldn't watch certain things on TV because it was bad. I mean, it was just very. But then we would something would happen. There'd be some kind of disappointment somewhere, and then suddenly for the next several months we wouldn't go to church at all. And my dad would be
right,
smoking, he'd be drinking, he'd be doing stuff with his friends that before we weren't supposed to do,
yeah,
watching movies that before he wouldn't watch. Just and it was like that forever, just constantly up and down. And I
ah,
never knew how it was really supposed to be. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, is this even real? I mean, I just questioned it for so long, and then in my 20s. Had an experience where it suddenly became very real to me, and I started getting involved in church, and I ended up becoming a minister, and did it for almost 10 years. For a while, absolutely loved it, thought it was the greatest thing, thought I had found my place, and then towards the end started seeing the behind the scenes things that
yeah,
were going on that other people didn't know about. Started seeing the business side of it that I didn't realize was there.
yeah,
Started seeing the hypocrisy that
right,
I didn't realize how strong it was, and then became kind of a victim of that, where I did something that they didn't like and had my minister's license taken away from me and got kicked out. I mean, I was asked to leave and not come back, and it
right,
completely changed my opinion on religion.
yeah,
And for the longest time, I wanted nothing to do with it. For the longest time, I wouldn't, even as I was getting into horror, I wouldn't really even watch religious horror because it reminded me too much of all of that.
mm,
And I just didn't want those reminders, so I just stayed away from it.
yeah,
Um, I do watch it now, and it's not my favorite. Slashers are my favorite, and
right,
it's kind of hit and miss with me. Sometimes it really hits, and I really like it, and other times I'm like, that was not so great. But you
right.
just never know. So this one's going to be an interesting one to talk about because I know you're a big fan.
Yes,
I'm going to hide my overall opinion till the end so we
that's
can get into it and talk about some things. But yeah, so we'll start this off. We'll get into this a little bit. So I've kind of broken this down into about 5 sections here that we'll cover a little bit and just talk about things that we liked in each one of these sections and what our thoughts were. But to start with, the opening of the film, we get the intro to Father Amorth, and see him performing this exorcism on a boy named Enzo. Um, what were your thoughts on the opening of the movie? Did you like this opening? Did you like this exorcism? The introduction to Amorth? What were your thoughts on the opening?
Yes, I did like it, but first let me tell you what I like because I think that
Sure.
that offers context, which is whenever it comes to religious horror, I want it to be both extremes, or one of two extremes, I guess. Either extremely cheesy and they just lean as hard as they possibly can into that, or really powerful, like the Exorcist side of things.
Right.
Which is, and that movie I could have a whole other conversation about. But I think this one is like to me, you have the Exorcist over here for Exorcist movies, and you have the Pope's Exorcist over here for Exorcist movies. But it
Okay.
represents the pinnacle of this type that I also love. So I think it's just a blast from the opening scene, sets the pace right away, and I don't think it slows down even through all the character building bits as it goes on. Um, I think the pace is really good. But with this opening scene, it sets the pace. And I think it has some really good action. It shows you that they're not really going to take the exorcism element that seriously because it's pretty damn cheesy. Um,
Right.
Down to the voice and down to how it looks and everything like that. Not particularly frightening or anything like that, but very entertaining. And the
Yeah.
pig, I thought it was funny. I mean, I was kind of sad about the pig. Kind of, honestly, it was funny though. It was funny.
It was, and again, I mean, I'm pretty much with you. I like the opening for this one. I thought it got off to a good start. There's nothing mind blowing about it, and some of it might look a little off, but I really like the confidence that we see initially in Father Amorth and the way he's dealing with this. Um, the pig scene, I kind of found funny, but that's actually, and I know nobody wants to hear a Bible lesson, but that's actually in that same scenario happens in the Bible. Just to let you know, if you
Oh,
weren't aware of
okay.
that, there is an episode. A part. I sort of say an episode. There is a maybe
Season
there
two.
is a, a story in the Bible, and I don't remember which one of the people it was, Peter, Paul, one of those guys, are in
Yeah.
the process of casting out a demon, or it may have even been Jesus. I don't know. Somebody's casting out a demon, and they basically command the demon to leave this person and enter into this herd of pigs, and then the pigs
Oh
end up
yeah.
running off a cliff and dying. So yeah,
Right.
that's
That's
what
right. I
I thought
forgot about
about
that.
having that background. That's what I thought about when they did this with the
Yeah,
pig. I thought it was kind of
that's
funny and
right.
kind of silly, but I'm like, I mean, if you believe that stuff, it's accurate. So
Yeah.
then
Right,
there we
and he
go.
used it in like a clever way too. Like he used it to his advantage later when they were trying to nail him in the meeting.
Right.
He's like, "Well, it was just a psychological trick,"
Yes.
which I thought is pretty great.
Yeah, no, I did actually like that as well. And from that, we'll move into here a little bit because then for what I have kind of listed as the second section is there's two different things going on. We have Father Amorth in trouble with the church, not liking the fact that he performed this exorcism without permission, and giving him a hard time. And I did like that part where, as you were talking about, where he said it was more of a psychological thing, that it wasn't even really an exorcism, that it was a mind thing.
Yeah,
I kind of like that as well because I don't think that's something that I think gets left out of a lot of
mhm,
religious horror.
yeah,
To see that included here, I did appreciate. So I like that, and I like the way he handled the guys giving him a hard time about things. To
yep,
start with, he's fairly calm and still being humorous, and then by the end, he's kind of pissed off and tired of it. But yeah,
right.
I liked all that interaction. I thought it was good. Um, and then at the same time, we kind of get an introduction to this family, to Julia and her kids, Henry and Amy, that they're staying in this abbey that was left by the deceased father and husband. And we find out that Henry's got some issues going on, and there's workers there that there ends up being an accident, and kind of starts leading into some of the issues that we get. So in these two areas that we're talking about, this interaction between Father Amorth and the church, and then at the same time also the introduction to the family and kind of starting to see what's going on with Henry. Um, any thoughts in particular that stood out to you that you really liked or disliked about this area?
Well, the reason I was talking about um, Father Amorth's interaction with the council or whatever that's called
Mhm.
is because I like that it shows where his mindset is because in the beginning you have the really intense religious stuff where you think it's a true exorcism and then they undercut it and show the business side that you were kind of talking about too, which are these
Right,
politics with the council and what's going on. But it also shows you that he is connected to his earthly humanity in a way because he
right,
understands that not everything is warrants an exorcism.
right.
And that was reflective of the real Father Amorth too, who was like,
Yeah,
90% of what I do is not exorcism; it's like
right.
psychological tactics or something. So I thought that was really smart, and like you said, it's refreshing to see that in an exorcism movie or in any horror movie. So I think
Yeah,
that's the element that stands out to me. And as you're talking about Julia's experience, losing the kids losing the father and everything. I'm
right.
just it just smacked me in the head. This parallel here between losing the father, losing faith, and things like that.
Right.
Um, and of course, that's your standard that The Exorcist set
Right.
50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. We have a thing there where, as he starts to show signs of possession, Henry ends up asking for a priest. And at the time, we don't know exactly what he's requesting, but he does ask for the priest, and we end up getting Father Escabel. And then we just,
Oh
I did
yeah,
like the scene where we just see him come flying out of the room. He goes into the room, and the next thing you know, he comes flying back out of the room, and slams up
yeah,
against something. Um, I kind of found that scene fun as well. I enjoyed seeing
yeah.
that part also. But
Yeah, and you know what's so funny, Sean, is that like with horror movies, the thing that I typically take away is like, oh, that kill was awesome. Can't wait to talk about it. But in this movie, it's like I don't even remember like any of the kills or things like
right,
that. For some reason, I just remember these themes and other stuff that I'll talk about later.
sure. um, from there, the next route we go is the Pope ends up sending Father Amorth there to meet with Henry and see what he can do and kind of deal with him. And I really like the initial meeting between Amorth and Henry, and the reason is
Yeah.
because through this first exorcism that we saw in the beginning of the film, and then with the way Father Amorth dealt with this council, he seems very confident. He seems very strong, even a little bit arrogant. And then you can tell that he starts off that way with Henry. And then as something gets mentioned, you see that switch. You see that he's actually rattled for a minute. Um, I like that initial confrontation, if that's what you want to call it, between Amorth and Henry. And I liked the way I made a little note here, but um, I like the thing they did with the eyes for Henry. His eyes do a
Mm, oh
little weird
yeah.
thing there, and that looks really creepy. So, even though that
Yes.
first exorcism I just thought was kind of mid, I did like the way this was looking with what they were doing with Henry.
That's a good point. I forgot about those eyes. It's kind of like that. Um, what is that? In Men in Black, whenever they
Yeah,
have like cockroach eyes or something that happens,
yeah,
that is
yeah.
kind of creepy. Yeah.
Um, and then we have another thing there, kind of that goes on at the same time. We kind of start getting the impression, and this is something that unless I'm just forgetting and don't remember it happening, but we get the idea that this demon is capable of possessing more than one person at a time.
Mm.
Typically, what we see in these religious horror movies is it may go from one person to the other, but it's not doing more than one person at a time. It's just moving around. The fact that this demon is able to possess Henry and Amy at the same time, um, it's kind of cool. I thought that was a different twist that we don't normally get to see in these as well. So I appreciated
Yeah.
the extra effort that I felt like this film was going to make it its own thing, rather than
Mm.
just be another typical exorcism movie.
Yeah, I love that too. And is it based? It's based on a book. Is that right?
It's based on, from what I was understanding, maybe a couple of books. He wrote a couple of
Okay.
books about some of his experiences and stories, and so I don't know which book this one came from, or if it's
Okay.
kind of in both of them or what. But yeah, supposedly based on real events. So yeah,
Good.
and they
I'm
made
very
it.
curious about that. But
Yeah,
I'm like curious which parts are. I guess the Spanish Inquisition part that comes later that might have something to do with. I mean, that's real. We know
probably.
that's real. But did you ever see? This is kind of a segue. But did you ever see the documentary that William Bill Friedkin did actually about
I
Father
did
Amorth?
not. I did not
Oh
see that. I should have, but I did not.
You have to watch it, Sean.
Okay.
First of all, I can say because Will Friedkin's dead, it's probably his worst movie that he ever did.
Okay.
But it's a documentary about Father Amorth, and he spends time with him and follows him around to different exorcisms and things like that. And so there's a few times where you go in with him and you see the person and or the patient, whatever the
Right.
case may be, and they go through it and Father Amorth is talking about the real versus psychological stuff, and then they go to a very serious case that's in progress at a church. And Bill Friedkin has his camera; they're going to go inside and check it out, but they're not allowed to bring the camera inside very conveniently, so they leave it outside. And later, he tells us what they saw, which was straight out of the Pope's Exorcist. Things flying,
Okay.
crab walking,
Okay.
all kinds of crazy shit. And that's crazy that that happened, and he just so happened not to have a camera.
Yeah, just so happened to not get recorded, but I mean, yeah,
Right.
who knows? But
So that it just makes you wonder about his books, like what in the book, how much is embellished for the drama,
yes,
and how
yeah,
much is reflective of it. But it makes a hell of a fun movie,
it
I think.
does. Yeah, makes a great movie. You don't really know about it, but yeah. I
Right.
also um, another scene that I enjoyed. Yeah, another scene that I enjoyed is then they do attempt. So Father Amorth and Father Escobar attempt to go ahead and do an exorcism, and they fail miserably, primarily because
Yeah.
this demon really provokes Father Escobar. He really
Yeah.
gets under his skin and stirs him up, and he ends up even attacking this kid and like choking him. And Father Morth has to pull it together, get it together, and they leave until they fail. Um, I thought the scene was pretty well done. It This scene was a little hard for me to believe for some reason. And we talked about that a little bit already. Like some things you wonder how much were they embellished, how much is accurately what happened. Um, just based on excuse me, my experiences, I have a hard time believing this scene, but it was still
Yeah.
fun. It was still a fun
Yeah.
scene.
He's provoked pretty easily, I think. And
He really is. I'm kind of
we,
wondering
yeah.
how he's a father at this point when we're seeing all the issues he's had. I mean, this guy's not having a lot of luck. He's supposed to be, pretty important here, and he walks into the room and gets thrown back out, and now
Yeah.
he starts dealing with it again, and he starts choking kids. And yeah, he's
There's got to
something's not
be,
not right.
right, and maybe it's just like they don't know what to do with him because he's that character that has to be in there, which is like the companion guy
Yeah,
who also has something that he has to confront in his past. But it's different because in The Exorcist, that's like the main character, as
right.
opposed to in this, he's kind of just thrown in there. Like in Exorcist Believer, it's a similar thing, except they have like 1,000 exorcists
Yeah.
that come in at the end. But that one guy, the first guy who's this character, I do like in the Believer how they twist his head forever.
Yes.
But anyway, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. But
Right.
anyway, now I'm gonna start thinking about Exorcist Believer. But the yes, I agree. It is kind of strange, and even whenever you find out like what his secret is, it's kind of like predictable. Like you or I probably could have just said that's what it would be.
It is, and I'll come back to that in a minute because when we get to the end of this film, that's one of the things that bugs me just a little bit about this movie. But yeah, we'll get there. So after the
Yeah,
failed exorcism, the family continues to go through a lot of torment, and then we kind of get something that the film starts to go a little bit of a different direction here for a few minutes. Now, I will say that up until this point, I was enjoying this movie more than I typically enjoy religious horror. I was
yeah,
really on board with this one. First time I saw it, and the other day as well, because I've only seen this was only the second time I watched this movie just a few days ago,
yeah.
and so it was some of it I had forgotten, some things it was just sort of kind of remembering as it happened. I was really enjoying this, and then we get to this to where Father Amorth finds this well, and to kind of sum it up, they end up going down in
Yeah.
this well, and they find out about this former priest that was possessed, and then he was left to die in this underground cage, and it's been covered up by the church. We start finding all of this. I want to know how you felt about this being added into the story.
Um, well, the political side of me is like I really hate the idea of blaming demons on human evil. Um, like the
Right.
Spanish Inquisition, which is one of the worst evils
Yeah.
committed upon humans in history, and it's because of the devil or because of a demon.
Right.
It's kind of like I mean I understand the instinct to do that, but it kind of removes responsibility. Um, it's like oh well, what can I do? It's just a demon, you know.
Yeah. Right.
So I have no culpability here, but it is one of those movies, and the point of a lot of these movies is to say Catholic Church good, demons bad, and so it doesn't get much deeper than that. And so if I allow myself to just to stop before I pick apart the political side of it. It's
Yeah.
totally fine by me, and I really actually liked the the setting that they went into there. I like the idea of finding that guy in there, but it also just doesn't make any damn sense that it would all be under there and no one would know it was there.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I thought it looked good. I liked the look of it. But I was
Yeah,
having a very difficult time doing what you said you had to just kind of stop and shut it off. And I don't know if that's still from some of my past of being a minister for so long. There are
yeah,
certain things that I was raised to believe, and a lot of things I'm still to this day questioning, what I
sure,
believed in that time of my life compared to what I believe now. But
yeah,
I do struggle a little bit sometimes with the political side of it. And some things just don't make any damn sense to me. And this is one of them. And
yeah,
so this
sure,
part this part of the movie, um, I get what they were trying to do. I get where it was supposed to add something. I just didn't think it was necessary because we were going so well. Pacing was good, everything, I mean, it was fun. I was really liking everything. And then I felt like we maybe tried to go too deep by adding this in, and it just wasn't necessary for this film. It's not what this movie felt like. It's not what I was
sure.
enjoying. And then suddenly we just go down this little side road. Um, and it just bothered me a little bit. I don't know why, but it did bother me a little bit. Now they
Yeah.
do end up finding out the name of Henry's demon, which was going to become
Mm,
very important. And even, that is also something that triggers things that I was taught in my past because I was taught that you do need to definitely know the names of things if you're going to deal with them. So I'm
okay.
like, okay, that makes sense that they really needed to know this. So,
Yeah.
yeah, believe it or not, and yeah, who knows what people may think about this because I still to this day I look back on that and wonder what happened. So I was part of this experience once. I was not
Exorcism?
Catholic. Yes.
Oh
Now,
my God.
it
Okay.
was I was not Catholic. I am not Catholic. I was part of a non-denominational church.
Right.
They did not believe one of their differences from the exorcism type things, the way Catholics do it. This non-denominational church pretty much believed that anyone who was a Christian had the authority to cast out demons.
Right.
And so you didn't have to be a priest. You didn't have to be, you didn't have to do all these special certain things. You didn't have to get permission from the Vatican. If somebody was possessed, you dealt with it. They also
Okay.
believed that if you were a Christian, there was no way you could be possessed because you can't have God and the devil both in you at the same time.
Okay.
So there was one incident where I was the assistant pastor at the church. We had met a woman who definitely seemed to have some issues. Looking back on it now and knowing what I know now, I feel like it was more of the psychological
Sure.
thing that Father Amorth mentions. But at the time, I was 100% convinced that this is
Okay.
a demon. This is what's happening. And
Yeah.
we were in the middle of a church service, and this lady starts acting up and just acting crazy. And the guy that was the minister, I would like to say was an assistant, he had me help her to the front and then stand behind her while he cast this demon out. And there was a stretch where she hit the floor and was foaming at the mouth, and it got really odd for a few minutes.
Yeah.
At the time, I 100% believed it. I 100% believed what I just saw. Um,
Yeah.
Now, as I have a chance to look back on things, I'm a little more like, no, this was a psychological thing that was taking place.
Sure.
This was not a demon. This was someone who had some mental health issues.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah, who
like, how
knows?
are you going to know? When you're in that environment too, it's like, um, and everyone shares these beliefs, and everyone have had these beliefs their entire lives. It's a terrifying thought to think that there's a demon inside of a person, and if you
Right,
sincerely believe it, that's horrifying.
right,
And you want to help them out, and if they have been taught that too, and they have sincere psychological issues, they're going to be more impressionable to acting out the behavior that they think they're expected to act out in some way.
correct.
Um, and so I think there's a combination going on there, and it can just it could just snowball out of
Yeah, it,
control.
it
And
really can.
yeah, and
Yeah,
what the problem is, of course, that it makes it so that you can't address what the real issues are. Um,
Exactly. Yeah,
so,
which is
but
some
that's
of the
wild.
an
You had
issue
that
that I have.
experience.
Yeah, and again, like I said at the time, I completely believed it. I hope that I'm not about to lose subscribers. I'd be like, "What the
No,
hell? Like, where is
no,
this guy
that would
coming
be
from?"
funny.
But
No, you're
yeah,
just
that's
sharing an
just
experience from your life. Yeah,
yeah. So, like I said, I look at it differently now, but it's still for some reason that whole thing crosses my mind from time to time. So, um,
yeah,
but I just saw things done a very different way when it came to that topic than the way we see the Catholic Church do it in a lot of these religious horror movies. And so sometimes,
yeah.
because still to this day, I really don't know what I believe anymore, my mind starts fighting like, okay, is that really right? Or is this right? Or is it all just a bunch of crazy bullshit and none of it's real? Like, I mean, I just, I
Right,
still
right.
find myself trying to figure that out from time to time. But, um,
Yeah,
yeah, so then from there we get closer to the end of this film now, where Father Amorth and Father Escabel are actually able to perform this exorcism. It's very lengthy. There's a lot going on. At one point there, finally, Father Amorth basically gives himself up, tells the demon to take him instead, which seems to work. And then we go through a lot of very cool looking stuff with Father Amorth
yeah,
being possessed and having to try to fight it and deal with these things. And then Father Escabel, who has been a big question mark this whole film, finally steps up and is able to help out.
yeah.
Um, what were your thoughts on this climactic ending and this big scene here to end this with this exorcism
Yeah.
and then a Morth getting possessed, that kind of thing? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was a blast and a half. Like, really fun to see him turning. That was probably one of my favorite scenes, and I love the shot with his eyes and things like that. And
Yeah,
kind of reminded me a bit of when Anthony Hop. Did you ever see The Right with
I
Anthony
did.
Hopkins?
Yes.
So it kind of reminds me of when he turned in that a little bit. It's a similar thing, except I think The Right is a little cheesier. Maybe I have to go back and watch it again. It's been a
Yeah, it
while,
has been a while. It's been a
but
while.
yeah, I think I remember thinking, why does he sound like Hannibal Lecter when he turns into a demon? He starts doing the weird Southern drawl again. Uh,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
anyway, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, that the scene, the climactic scene, the battle is so
Yeah.
fun. I think it's great, and it kind of reminded me of the climactic scene at the end of The Nun 2, which I thought had similar. It's like in a similar room with water, like the dungeon and
Right.
the demons on fire and all whatever. So it's just fun. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, and that's, I mean, this is one of the things that I was very curious about what your thoughts were on it because um for me again, similar to what we something else we were talking about earlier, I thought it looked really good. I
right.
liked what I was seeing. Um I did feel like it went a little long. Because there was a point where I was like, okay, let's wrap this up now. This is getting kind of weird. I mean, when they these two girls come back, that they both had apparently because we find out what
Yes.
Amor's past was and what Escabel's past was, and now we've got these two girls coming out of nowhere that I guess are demons or something. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
That's going on, and it just again, I thought everything was looking good. I was enjoying it, but it just got to a point where I'm like, okay, it's getting a bit chaotic. It's getting a bit
Yes.
too much. Let's wrap some of this up a little bit because this film for me has a ton of potential,
Mm.
and I really enjoy the first half of this film. I just think there are things in the second half that either don't fit or I don't. Sometimes I don't think movies know how to wrap up. They don't know how to end. And so
Yeah.
they're just bouncing all over the fucking place, like just mixing a bunch of
Yeah.
shit together for this big climactic ending, and
Sure.
not necessary. Um, there are other films that the ending is too, there's not enough things happening at the end. I mean, they end too quick. But this one, I just felt like it went a little long for me. Um,
Yeah.
because I do remember sitting there at one point, and that was exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, can we wrap this up? Because I don't remember all this shit. I mean, this has been okay, but what are we doing right now? Why? Like,
That's a
why
good
is this
point. I
happening?
mean, and it's probably Father Escabel, like you pointed out,
Yeah,
because you said the two women come back, and that's like
right.
they're finally facing their demons, and you really only want to see Father Amorth doing that because the
Yeah,
other guy's demon just doesn't hit as hard. And
right.
is this way? Did he lose his ear? Did he get his ear bit or
For some
something?
reason,
Why
I
did
think so. Actually, now that you say that, yeah,
I can't remember
I'm
the
trying to
context
remember,
for
but yeah, I
that.
mean, again, I understand what they were trying to do. I
Sure.
just felt like it was a bit much, very similar to the whole going down on the well and everything that was happening with all of that. I understood the point. I understood what they were going for. I just think they overdid it. And that's kind of how I felt
Mm,
about the end of this film as well. I know what we're trying to do. It was looking good. It was fun. You just overdid it a little bit for me. So yeah, that's kind of where I
yeah.
was with that. Um, and then the film wraps up with now the family's good, everybody's recovered. Father Amorth and Father Escabel, they go see the Pope, and he basically lets them know that they're going to go and do this kind of stuff all over the places. They've got all of these other ones that they're going to go
The
and take care of
Avengers.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we have this. Yeah, these.
Oh my
Yeah, I don't
god.
even know what to call them. Father Avengers. I don't know, but yeah, they're going to go
Yeah.
do all of this. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad I was I remember the first time I saw this movie and feeling very similar to the way I feel about it now. And I'm like, oh, please don't make more. Like, I don't want to see them continuing to do this. This film's okay, but please don't add to it because what you did with this one, where you went too far a few times and looked to me like you didn't really know what you were going for. If you make more of these, you're going to do that so much more. So please don't do
Yep,
that.
they are. And yeah, well, because they said there's going to be at least 199 sequels. Because at the end of it, they said that 199 countries or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so there you go. You got to get
I'm
buckle up, Sean.
yeah, I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. but but we'll see. If they make some sequels, I'll try. I'll give them a few of them a shot, and we'll see what goes on. Maybe I'll be surprised.
Hey, I'm pretty sure they have a second one lined up at least.
They probably
So,
do. And Russell Crowe was in another movie. I can't think of the name of it now, but another Exorcist movie that initially I
oh
thought that's what it
yeah,
was going to be was a sequel, and then it turned out as
okay.
something completely different. But
It's
I've
a
you
different
know
Exorcist movie. It's
yeah,
so
it's a
weird.
whole different thing. I think he's like an actor. I haven't seen the movie, but from what I understand, he's like an
Yeah, yeah.
actor playing an exorcist, and some shit happens.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
like, damn.
That's right. I
Russell
started that,
Crowe.
and then I didn't finish it for some reason, but it wasn't
He
because it was bad or anything. I just was too
okay.
tired or
Yeah,
something.
maybe he just likes playing these characters. I don't know.
I
But
guess.
so
I guess.
on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the Pope's Exorcist, Isaiah?
Oh well. I have to say that it gets a couple extra stars for the scooter shots, because this was a big thing when the movie came out. Was back on Twitter back in those days. It would be like everyone share the meme or the gif of him on a scooter,
Right.
and it really is a lot of that movie. Like there's a lot
It
of shots, a
is.
long shots of him on the scooter, and I wondered, was this the thing? And he actually said that, or they interviewed him, and he was like, "Yeah, but I just loved writing that thing." He actually asked if they could put more shots of him in it so that he could
Oh
write it
wow.
more.
Okay.
So I
I
think
did that
that's
part I didn't know.
yeah, think Pope's
Okay.
Exorcist 2, Scooter Pope, or whatever it is. I would be so happy for that. But
That's awesome.
I give it a 7, 2 stars
Okay.
extra. Oh, this is out of 10. Oh, you said out of 10. Two
Yeah, out of 10.
stars extra for the scooters.
Okay. So now let me make sure I'm with you. Is that 7 plus the 2 to be a 9, or was it a 5 plus the 2 to
7.
get to
5
7?
plus 2. I'm kind of with the critics,
Okay.
so the Red Tomato critics on the quality of the movie, but I'm with the
Okay.
audience and the enjoyment of the movie.
Okay.
7.
Well, I think that's very fair because for me, um, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give the Pope's Exorcist a 5. So we're actually very similar. I'm just not giving it any bonus points for the scooter. That did not do
Damn
enough for
you.
me. I thought it was funny, but it didn't. It didn't get any bonus points out of it. It just caused me to chuckle a
Uh,
couple of times. But
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
so I would say 5 out of 10, which, to be completely honest with you, is where I feel like I land on a lot of religious horror, but there
Yeah.
are a few here and there that I watch that don't even make the 5. They're down there a little lower than
Pretty
that. So
low.
to be a 5 out of 10 on a religious horror is not bad. There are some things I really like
Yeah.
about this movie. I really enjoy the first half of the movie. Um, it just starts to carry and does a few things that I don't think it needed to do in the second half that brought my enjoyment level down. I
Yeah,
think if we could have continued with a little more in the second half of what we were doing in the first half and not try to add in a few subplots here and there, it would have been even higher. So that's my take on it. But so yeah, we
sure.
basically are both going to say a 5 out of 10. But you really like a scooter, so it gets a 7.
I like it. I like
Nothing
a
wrong with
scooter
that.
so much. I think the next move they should make 199 movies, 199 scooters. That's what I think.
I think you should submit that idea and see what happens. Why not go
I
for it or
don't
make it
know. It's
yourself?
like
Yeah.
that's like Russell Crowe's. That's his third act of his career. I don't know if he's that old. I don't think so. But it's some act of his career, and it's going to be all the Exorcist movies from here on out. That's my dream.
All right, that works. All right. Well, Isaiah, what do you have coming up throughout the middle and second half of August for your channel? Do you know right now, or is it still kind of hard to say?
Yeah. So what's going on with me is I've got Horror Mosaic coming out every weekish, as much as I could get them out because they take a while to edit. So that will always be coming out, and just interviewing people and um, yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Nothing.
Very cool.
Nothing. I can't talk about that one project I referenced earlier
Got it.
until
Yeah,
it's
still trying
done
to.
because I don't want to. I mean, it's the checks are signed and things like that, but I just want to have it in my hand before I announce it to the world.
Okay, that works. Very cool. Well, for me here, what we've got coming, this episode is going to air on August 7th. So the following week, I will have episodes coming up on Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects, and then also on the movie X. That'll be the next two that I will be talking about. I've gone through a few Rob Zombie films so far. I'm not incredibly impressed, but if I remember correctly, The Devil's Rejects might be one that's more. I think I
It's
liked
good.
that better than I did some of his other stuff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it's been a while, so. But yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I will be talking about in the near future. But
Okay.
Isaiah, thank you again so much for coming on. I'll have to. Next time I generate another list and get me some random movies, I'll see if there's any of those you want to talk about and have you come back if you want to.
Yes, that would be amazing. I didn't do this on
All right,
purpose. I
and
didn't realize.
and I will go ahead. No, that's okay. We're doing that now.
Okay.
But and we'll go ahead and decide it right now. If there ever becomes a Pope's Exorcist 2, you and I are going to talk about it.
We're gonna talk about it, yeah, and I'm gonna get my
100%.
scooters. Actually, I almost had my hat, my Pope's Exorcist hat today, but I couldn't find it.
You know,
So
we should both get scooters and just record while we're on our
yes,
scooters. That would be even
I mean,
better,
look,
right?
we both have beards here too
Oh, we
because we
do.
have wool hats on. We could be the
That's right.
Exorcist team, man. We're part of the Pope Vengers.
Absolutely, we could. Wow. That's not where I saw this going. No, thanks, Isaiah, so much for coming on. And thank you again, everybody, for
Yeah.
watching. Go and subscribe to Isaiah's channel. Some really good stuff on there. I really enjoy watching it. So give him some support. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do so. Follow me on social media. I'm on pretty much everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X. Yeah, and you could just search Sean's Horror Corner and find any of it. So, and then that's going to wrap this up. I'll be back in a few days to talk about The Devil's Rejects. And yeah, thank you so much for watching again. Bye bye.